How is it rocking, Dwayne Nation? Stay here because we are just about to get underway. In the meantime, please like, comment, and subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications. We put out weekly sports content, and we want to continue to build up Dwayne Nation and the brand that is Dwayne Sports. Thank you all, and enjoy. Welcome in, Dwayne Nation. This is your host, Justin Paez, alongside Genoa Agudelo. Hey, and we got another guest star on our NBA Finals talk. This is Brandon Ethridge. Brandon, welcome to the show, man. So excited that we're going to get to talk some NBA Finals. But hey, tell us a little bit about yourself. Give the crowd some noise.
Yes, sir. I appreciate y'all for sure. I run my own business. I'm a videographer, but I've been big in the sports world since I was a little kid. Played baseball, football growing up. Dabbled in a little bit of basketball, but mainly just fell in love with just watching the sport. Started watching like 2012, 2013 season. Big Warriors guy. I know I'm out here repping a Mavs jersey, but we pull for the home teams. But yeah, man, I just fell in love watching the Warriors, dude. Just watching Harrison Barnes, Andrew Bogut, Steph Curry, all the big names winning finals. Yeah, I love it. Just I've been tuned in, locked in with the Warriors since then, and we may be down right now, but we're gonna come back. We're all gonna see us next season, something like that.
I love the energy, Brandon. Genoa, how are you feeling today? We got Brandon on the show.
Dwayne Nation, I'm feeling great. B, welcome to the show. We're loving to have you, brother. Don't like the Warriors and don't like the Mavericks, Justin, especially not now in the finals. So, Brandon, not a hot start. No, I'm playing. But I'm doing great, Dwayne Nation. JP, it's good to see you, my brother. And it's good to discuss the finals as always, my man.
Yeah, man. And let's dive into it because 2 games have gone by. Boston has had the number of the Dallas Mavericks. And for at least game 1, it didn't look pretty. Game 2 was a little bit tighter, but Boston was able to pull away at a point. And then, they cut it again. It's kind of Dallas is cutting it, but just not enough to really make it even and make a good game. But now we're headed back to Dallas. They're down 2-0. What do you think has been kind of the biggest storyline coming out of the first 2 games, Genoa?
I'm going to start off with Kyrie Irving here. I did say it in the, prediction episode where he needs to be that Kyrie to what LeBron was. We're looking at Luka Doncic. He's scoring over 30 in both games here. Even with that injury, Justin, which we kind of discussed, kind of off air, like what's going on with Luka. And so I do feel like it all comes down to Kyrie Irving. He needs to add, 25 points a game now going forward. Justin, he scored 16 a couple nights ago for game 2. I think he only scored 1 bucket in the fourth quarter, only took like 3 shots all of the second half. I mean, that really cannot happen, Justin. I mean, Kyrie needs to bring in, I do believe he does in Dallas.
All right. And Brandon, with Kyrie's struggles, is he someone Dallas can really rely on over this backstretch? Or are we worried about, his matchups with Drew and etc.?
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough topic there. Drew Holiday he's explosive on offense. He's also just as explosive on defense. So, he's definitely the match for Kyrie. And I think we're seeing that every single game that Drew's just stepping up, pushing. He's pushing him. I mean, that's what we're seeing. Kyrie's not having these high scoring games like he normally is. So I think Dallas is really just piggybacking off of using Luka for points. So I'm going to have to agree with Genoa here. I think we're going to need to see some 25 point or more games from Kyrie, just to see them, kind of push through and hopefully clinch this series. But, the jury's still out. We'll find out in game 3.
Yeah, man. I mean, tomorrow's a big day for the Mavericks. You don't want to go down 3-0. Obviously, we've never seen something like that happen where a team could come back from that. So we could see a nail in the coffin tomorrow, or we could see some hope restored. Talking about Kyrie, it really leads me to thinking about Drew Holiday and the fact that he's been so helpful and impactful for this Boston Celtics team through 2 games. I mean, looking at his stats here, he put up 26. I mean, just a phenomenal defender. Obviously, he's locking down Dallas' second best player in Kyrie Irving, and it's flat out. I had Mavericks before this, and through 2 games, I've really changed my mind. Just basically through Drew Holiday and Jaylen Brown, and even Derek White making all those threes, and then with Drew Holiday though, with that defensive rating, how efficient he was on offense, 11 for 14. I think, hey, if they come out with this firepower. Tomorrow is Drew Holiday's 34th birthday. So, hey, he's going to go crazy. And if he does, I think he deserves that Finals MVP crown, which you would never think from what you can argue the third or fourth best player on the Celtics roster. And hey, I mean, Drew, who was part of that Bucks team a handful of years ago, putting the team on his back, kind of being an underrated superstar, but always a reliable player. And I think if Kyrie gets held up again, it's only due to Drew Holiday's excellence on the defense. But hey, what do you guys think if Drew Holiday could pull out as a Finals MVP? Brandon, what do you think there?
Yeah, man. I'd be happy to see it. Drew Holiday, he's a I mean, I'd say underrated player. We're now seeing. I mean, he's really been consistent most of his career, but now we're seeing him. I mean, like you said, 34 years old. He's still showing out for a 34-year-old dude. I feel like game two. We saw him. He was rushing that hole like crazy. He read the game and the plays. The threes were not falling for either team really. And Drew Holiday kind of took it upon himself to rush the hole, just put up some points. He was still out there getting rebounds on the defensive end. I don't know, man. I'd have to agree and say that Drew Holiday he's looking pretty nice for that Finals MVP spot.
Yeah, for real. And Genoa, okay, I know we talked about Kyrie needing to step up big time. And obviously Luka played pretty well in the last game, had a triple-double. But who else on this Mavericks team can really, take some of that load off of Luka and kind of change the tide for the Mavs?
Justin, I'm going to go all out on this question. And this is a shout out to the Mavericks. They have to see this. There's a guy on your bench who used to run with Luka and Jalen Brunson, who's now a Knick, and he goes by the name of Tim Hardaway Jr. Justin, I saw him. I thought he was done for the playoffs a couple nights ago, but when I saw him, I think it was game one, like in the third quarter. I don't think he got any minutes in game two, Justin. But Tim Hardaway Jr. there was a sighting in game one, and I was like, oh my goodness, that's what the Mavericks need. And Justin, that's what they need now. They need another shooter that can get them some points. See, this series against Boston, I just feel like their offense is so stagnant compared to what it was in Minnesota. I feel like everyone was kind of having their turn, piecing up the Timberwolves. But now with the Mavericks, it feels like nobody on their bench is kind of helping, like Derrick Jones Jr. or PJ Washington. Even Lively has been a non-factor in this series already, Justin. So I have to say it has to be Tim Hardaway Jr. He has history, Justin, with Luka in the playoffs. They did make the Western Conference Finals a few years back against Brandon's, Warriors. And Hardaway was a factor, a good player in that series, in that playoff run for the Mavericks that year. So I feel like they need to bring him back if they want any, chance of getting back in the series.
Yeah, I think that's a really great take. I mean, Tim Hardaway Jr., although he battled injuries much of this year, we saw him in game one. Hopefully he could pull out something in game three. But I have a question for Brandon here. Just say the Mavs can roar back to tying it 2-2. Who kind of, has the hold, has the momentum to kind of finish out this series if it's tied 2-2 after 4 games?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think honestly, we've got Luka he's playing good basketball. I mean, this man's playing with a sprained right knee, a chest injury. He's getting injections to minimize that while he's on the court, and we're still seeing good performance from him. I think that really all of Dallas is really going to have to take a step up. Not to say, Dallas isn't playing well, but I mean, we're in the finals, man. Like, we've got to show out. If they want the ring, they want that chip for their team, I think everybody's going to have to show out. PJ Washington, 17 points in game two. I think as a guard, that's great, but I think we need to be showing out more than that. Luka can't be our only main scorer. We're going to need Kyrie, PJ Washington. We need all three of those dudes just to be heavy hitters every single game. And, maybe we can pull through, but it's, as of right now, we're not looking too hot.
Yeah, and I like that you brought up the point, like, it's kind of, we need a more whole-rounded attack from Dallas. As you look here, they scored 9 points off the bench. That's just not going to cut it compared to Boston, who had Kristaps off the bench, who has been kind of a phenomenal, surprise coming off injury. And I think, honestly, that is what ruined them in game one, right? Kristaps came out, punched them in the mouth, just couldn't miss from, 15 feet deep. That's why I think my X factor for Dallas, if they want to make it back, I'm looking at this center right here, Daniel Gafford. Okay, he only got 23 minutes, right? comparatively to the rest of the team. We got 42, 41, 32, 40. He needs more minutes. He needs to guard Kristaps Porzingis, and we need some bigger bodies on the unicorn there, because we just saw it. I mean, they would throw it to Kristaps. Kristaps would back him up. Back up, it was either a guard or a small forward, and just put the bucket in the basket. But there's also worries because Kristaps now has come out with this rare injury, is what they're calling it. But if he's out, things could be very different for this series. And Genoa, what would your predictions be for the series if Kristaps is out and no longer playing?
Well, Justin, I'm looking at the Mavericks bench, and I do think that now Maxi Kleber for the Mavericks has to step up and be kind of that 3-and-D guy that can play defense on the baseline and get some corner threes for the Mavericks. I do see a lot of looks for Kleber, during this playoffs where he's, at the edge ready to shoot a three. He needs to, be one of those players that can get you 20 off the bench, because now with that matchup, that Kristaps is not playing, you're able to, relax a little bit on defense, kind of put more help on Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, if you're a forward guy. So I feel like guys off the bench now can kind of relax, because, maybe when Boston sits Jaylen Brown and Tatum, now it's like, okay, well, we're not really too scared of Peyton Pritchard and Sam Hauser. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I do think the Mavericks bench can relax defensively just a tad bit, Justin.
Cool, definitely. All right, well, that leads us to really looking at, like, we're predictors here, we're analysts, we're looking at, the last handful of games in this NBA season. Brandon, realistically, in your mind, what's going to happen over these next couple of games?
Man, that's another, you're asking the right questions. I mean, game one and game two is completely different basketball. Game one, we saw the Celtics come out nailing threes left and right. We come into game two, nothing's dropping for either team. The Celtics are playing bully ball, man. I think we're just gonna the Mavericks are just gonna have to lock it down, dude. I think that it's possible for them to pull through, but as of if the Celtics are just playing bully ball, I'd have to agree with having Gafford. I mean, Gafford just needs to be guarding that paint. Same with Derek Lively. We're not seeing a lot of great defense off on the Mavericks side. The Celtics are bullying straight through into the paint, and they're getting the easy buckets, which in the finals we can't be giving out easy buckets.
No way. Yeah, definitely. Genoa, we're looking at it here, and just say this, because I feel like so far in these finals, we've seen Jaylen Brown play better than Tatum in most regards, definitely on defense. If Jaylen Brown wins Finals MVP, is he better than Tatum? Is he kind of the face of the Boston Celtics? What are we looking at here?
In the city of Boston, yes, you do have to see it that way. If Jaylen Brown is the one, to have a big, let's say tonight here at Game 3, Jaylen Brown knocks down 43, and now the Celtics are up 3-0. It's the clear favor that he is the Finals MVP. He is the leader. Tatum has had many playoff postseasons where he fell short of the superstar that we've hoped, and he still is a superstar. He's definitely gonna be an MVP definitely one day. But as far as the leader of the Boston Celtics, I think we're seeing it right now as the games go by that it is Jaylen Brown. And Justin, I don't think it could ever be more clear.
Yeah, I mean, he won the Eastern Conference Finals MVP. He had those 3 blocks, and what was the game? I think it was game 1. I mean, he's kind of become an all-around, star for the team and been more reliable. If you look at the stats, I mean, Jason Tatum has not shot the ball well. His defense has been solid, but he's actually had one. I think I need to find the stat. One of the worst 3-point shooting percentages in NBA playoff history through a playoff run. And so I think that's a dangerous game for them. But the problem is Dallas has been just as bad at the 3 ball. Only Luka has I think made more than 2 3-pointers in a game through the first 2 games. And so it's just going to have to, Dallas is going to have to realize how good of Boston's defense is, but how to really overcome that, which we will see. I was looking up some things with this playoff series and even with the Mavericks playoff run. And the sad news is that the Mavericks, through all of their home games, they've lost at least one of them. And games 3 and 4 are 1 and 2. And so that worries me a bit. But I think tomorrow, or I guess today, by the time this video comes out, I'm confident the Mavericks will win Game 3. Kind of put some minds to rest, put some ease heading into Game 4. But both games are must wins, and so if they're not able to pull out both games, I'd be really worried to see if they could win this finals. And with Boston, I think we talked about it last episode. If they win this finals, they'll have the most NBA championships in the history of this sport, which is super super crazy to see. We'd be watching history unfold at the seams. But I guess the question is too, just say Boston does pull it out and they're the champs. What's next for the Dallas Mavericks, Brandon?
Man, I think that, if Boston does pull it out, the Mavs just, need to take this as a learning experience. I mean, they've made it far. They played good basketball through all of the postseason. So I think this is just a time to just grind out through the offseason, man. Just come back hungry. I mean, we all know that, Kyrie doesn't have a ring. Luka doesn't have a ring. Um, they're hungry, Actually, I think Kyrie does have one ring. I got that wrong. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, they're all hungry for these rings. And, Kyrie, I thought I was going to see a different performance so far, playing against this, the Celtics. He doesn't have a great track record with them, I mean, I hate to say it, but the Boston Celtics hate Kyrie. The fans, none of them like him. So, I think that Kyrie would have been more on fire this season, but I think if they end up taking the L in this finals, they just need to get back to the lab, start grinding, come up with some different ways to play. I mean, they're seeing different basketball through all of this postseason. We saw some crazy matchups all the way up to where we're at now. And like I said, I think this is just going to be a learning experience for them, just something that they can learn to grow with and see if they can overcome it in the next coming seasons.
Yeah, and I think they overcame a lot. I didn't think they had the unit to beat Minnesota the way they did in the Western Conference Finals, but they were able to do that. Obviously, they beat the number 1 seed Oklahoma City Thunder. We were looking hopefully for a Kawhi-led Clippers, but they beat a Kawhi-less Clippers. But Genoa, if Dallas is, if they get swept, or even if they win just one game, does Kyrie need to be dealt, or do they need to keep him around and run it back somehow next season?
No, definitely should keep him and run it back for sure. Don't want to get rid of Kyrie. I think him and Luke have played so well together. Definitely just add some pieces on the bench. I do think maybe their bench is a little outdated. So maybe just a couple more shooters off the bench going into next season. Because I do think, Justin, if they had just a couple, good shooters off the bench, like for example, the Celtics have at least Porzingis coming off the bench. The Mavs don't have a guy like that, so they need to find someone like that to get maybe about 15 to 20 points per game. A good 6-man, pretty much.
I hear you. Definitely, that would make sense. But okay, before we end this episode, I think it's important for us to lay out our predictions after these two games. I'll start us off. I had Mavs in 7 last a week and a half ago. I'm gonna have to change that. I have not seen what I thought I'd see. I'm a man. I'll admit where I messed up, and I think Boston will win in 5. Dallas will get one at home, but then it will fall apart. But Brandon, give me your prediction. How many games is this going to?
Yeah, Justin, I'm wearing the Mavs jersey. I came into this finals, hoping for a Mavs victory. And my prediction originally was Mavs in 6. In my heart, I still want that. But, the ball knowledge is just telling me it's not going to happen. I'm going to have to go with Celtics in 6. I think the Mavs are going to come out hot tomorrow or today for Game 3. And I think they're going to clinch this one. But, I just have to say, I think the Celtics they're just the better defending team. They're better all around. I think that they're going to take this series in 6 games.
Janny?
Yeah, I mean, I knew this was gonna happen, and I just don't like Boston. And it's just it sucks that Luka's playing hurt a little. I'm not trying to make excuses, but I'd say it's gonna be Celtics, and I said 6 originally. I kind of want to push for 5, but I'm gonna stick with 6. I believe that Dallas gets 2 at home. Boston wins Game 5 on their floor, and I think they still won in Dallas. The Celtics do, and they win one on the road, a Jaylen Brown game type thing. But it could be 5 though. So I do predict the Mavericks to win tonight, Game 3, and then from there it goes downhill.
Dang, yeah. Quick question too before we leave. Do you think there's more of a chance that Boston sweeps, or do we go to Game 7, Brandon?
Man, I think that there's go. I think I'd have to say Game 7.
Okay.
I don't know that Luka and Kyrie are gonna allow a sweep. You know, we saw him hungry. We saw him face the Timberwolves. That was a strong team. You know,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to say Game 7 on that.
Genoa?
I agree. I'm going to go ahead and say Game 7 because in the past, Luka's, all of his playoff career, even when he got bounced in the first round, he would always take it to Game 7. He'd always have, those down 0-2. And so I definitely believe, Luka can get at least 1 in the series before he gets swept.
All right. So we have some hope. We're obviously all rooting for the Mavs as fans just because, Luka is a fun guy to cheer for. We're all Houstonians, so we're close to that Dallas area. But we're all picking Boston. We're all picking we're analysts here. We got to pick the right way where we think it's gonna go. And so we got Boston. But hey, the finals are underway. 2 games down. Hopefully 4 or 5 more to go. But yeah, thank you guys for listening. Brandon, thank you for joining. We will have you on more. You did awesome. We were glad.
Yes, sir. It was a pleasure to be on, man.
Yeah, man. And Genoa, do it as you always do and send us out, man.
Dewey Nation, B, we love having you today. And hey, guys, we love that you're, keeping up with us. The finals are going crazy. We can't wait to talk about the finals, and then fantasy football season is just creeping around the corner. Dewey Nation. So, me and my boy JP, now B, and others like JoJo, they'll be back. And hey, Dewey Nation, we love y'all. And as always, peace.
Peace, y'all. Stay tuned.